Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome back. And this is another episode of Tea and Coffee with Paula and...
Paula Jay.
Yes.
Croaky
Croaky
Jay.
Paula, too.
We could just slide back a little bit. Right. There we go.
There we
We're
go.
back. We're back, folks. It's been a little bit. I'm croaky. I don't feel bad. I
Yeah.
just sound bad. I don't know. Maybe some people like the sound.
Yeah, there is a thing about the whole hello croaky. I was talking to a friend yesterday about how there's a radio DJ, Radio 1 in England called Lisa Ianson, who's constantly, her voice was like this. And yeah, people loved it. Just need a syrup. That's it. But yeah, but people like the croaky voice.
Tea and Paula. Tea and Coffee with Paula and Jay. Your morning show on your drive to work. And I got my Whistle Stop Cafe cup with my morning throat stuff.
Yes. We did well because there was, in our community, there was a bunch of there was a big cold and cough thing going around since before Christmas, and we avoided it, so we were able to get through the holiday season fine. And then, was it about a week ago, our eldest got hit him first, then it hit the youngest, then I got hit, and I kind of struggled through it, made it through, and then once we were done with all of the events, it hit me hard Saturday night, and Sunday I was just out. I was a hot mess yesterday, and now I feel much better.
Well, I hope I'm not a hot mess because I don't feel bad. I just sound this way. Nothing major going on, no headaches, no none of that. Lots of energy. So I hope you don't mind. We can't change the audio now.
Yeah.
But here you go, folks.
Yeah. And morning, Martin. Great to see you.
Yeah, can't wait to see him. Oh, Martin, I'm coming to Ontario. Maybe you got to schedule out a couple dates for me.
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted on that.
So that's some information coming out. You're going to Ontario. You share.
I can sort of share. I'll share more in the coming days. But as you all know, we've been working on the Sean Hartman movie. It's wrapping up. The trailer's coming out, and we're scheduling the screenings starting in Barrie. Likely going to hit Ottawa, Toronto, London, and then Hamilton, and then I'm back before my birthday. So there's a quick week in Ontario that's being planned out right now, so we can screen this movie for people. Sean Hartman story. It's a full-on production, many months in the making.
Yeah.
And I think it's about time because things are moving quick on his court case now. The defense has been filed, and there's a court matter this week, I think. So, yeah, let's get this movie out and get people in front of it so that we can help Dan in his journey on the legal side of things. You'll recognize a lot of the people in there. Really big names showed up to be part of this. Yeah,
wonderful. I was excited. I was around to do when you were doing some of the video for it and the filming. What is the official term now? The recording of it. And there's been some more, and now it's been in the final editing process. And yeah, it's all coming to a conclusion and ready to show to you guys. So I hope you, the public, are looking forward to it.
I know it's been in the making for a while because we recorded some of it in the summer. But things happen for a reason, the way they do. And I'm really pleased that we have a producer with it. So it's a full-on production. It's really, really nice. The rough cut we've seen was
good.
Sad. It was very sad to watch.
It was sad to watch, but it was good to see all of the clips come together in form. So no, it was good. It was good to see. But yes, when it's all put together, Sean and Dan's story, yeah, you're right. It is sad.
How was the homestead while I was away? So give Martin his update.
It was good. It was fine. We just got stuff done. We have had fantastic weather. So thanks to Bruce Pardy, because the prep just before he arrived to now, just with him leaving, we had fantastic spring weather. Not only do we have sun, but we had like plus temperatures, but also now means we've got ice everywhere. We have ice everywhere. But it was fantastic. Great weather. We've got stuff done. But now the cold is coming back. We've got our minus teens coming over the course of the week. And then apparently next week is like the minus 20, minus 30 is back. But it's winter.
Bad news, Paula. Bring back the news.
Yeah.
The cold weather. But sorry about that cough. I'm doing my best to get through this. It's not rough. It just sounds rough.
Yeah. No, I know. I went through it. It was just Sunday where I actually got sick. And now today I'm like, no, it's all out of my system and this sound croaky again.
Excellent. And animals are all good. Everything else is good.
Yeah, no, animals are all good. Cats are great. Dogs are great. Wilbur should be coming home probably next week. We'll have him home because he should be done with his month getaway with Penny. And we should see. We have piglets. 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days.
Wow, that's quick. That's fast. He might be a father again.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. And yeah, you guys did well. While I was away, you handled the fort.
Oh,
I
yeah.
tried to minimize the nights away. There was a lot of driving. It was great to see Alberta. We'll get into that. And sorry about my hair, folks. We tried hard to keep that down. May need to touch it up a little bit.
You need to well, if you're gonna be doing some gallivanting around, we need to have you groomed anyway, so we'll get you looking pretty.
Yep. And there's 2 more tours being planned for Alberta right now, Southern Alberta and then Northern Alberta. So I'll keep you posted because we were kind of running around the Central Alberta area, Red Deer, Edmonton stuff. So there's 2 more tours being planned right now. Bring the Alberta Independence Talk to you all, and you guys seem to really like it. Be different people for both of those tours. So Southern Alberta, I'll keep it until I confirm everything, and then Northern Alberta, another set of people. But we're going to be doing 2 people answering questions and giving talks because it's a well-needed time to share as much information as possible about Alberta independence.
Yes, and thank you everyone who's been coming out for Stay Free Alberta to sign and put your name forward as saying that we would like this referendum.
It's great to see the audience. People missed you though. They wanted you there.
I look, I bet they did, but there's only so much Paula that can go around, and the main priority is always the children. That's always the main priority, and really that I'm just the secondary. They're also there to see you.
Don't talk like that. And actually, it's the property because the children could come. If we didn't have to do the property in winter and the animals, you would be along more. But you came to Drayton Valley and you came to Buck Creek. What are your thoughts there?
I was there for Red Deer too. It was good. I mean, I love to see. First of all, we'll be out about in my community. That's always great. But it's also nice to see the community turn out because this shows that this is a subject matter that is important and of interest to them, and they're there to get information, and they are there to sign. And there was a bit of a fun thing. So, good old Facebook Marketplace. I sold a kitchen sink that we had, and when they met me at Buck Creek, because that's where I was, they're like, "Oh, I had no idea that the Stay Free Alberta was here," and we signed. So they were actually able to go ahead and sign while they got a Facebook Marketplace deal done. That's all right.
And to be very clear, because we know Elections Alberta is on top of everything as they should. We want to make sure everything's nice and clear. We are not Stay Free Alberta.
No, we are not.
And these were not Stay Free Alberta events. They were locations where you could sign because they got invited for free to be in the lobbies.
Yes.
Because that's important because we are not Stay Free Alberta. We are the Levine Show.
Yeah.
And as we'll get into one of our posts there's some confusion around that. They got cleared up pretty quick. And I'm just glad that everything's being done legit, properly, to the letter. And it's difficult because Stay Free Alberta has to follow Bill 54, the new laws. A lot of people are wondering, like, why did things change? Bill 54.
Yeah.
So you need proper ID, proof of residency, and property. And you can't just use a P.O. box. So we'll get that message out loud and clear.
Yes.
If you're going to go signing at these locations, wherever they are all over Alberta, go to stayfreealberta.com, find the location, and you also find instructions on the proper ID to bring with you. Because nobody needs to be turned away, but they will be if they don't have the proper ID. They're absolutely making sure that that's addressed and stuck to, because we're the side that does things legally, even if it's difficult or we have to say no, it's still the right thing to do. So please go check out stayfreealberta.com for instructions on your ID and then a location near you. There's several locations every single day, and it's updating all the time. So do check frequently.
Yep.
There definitely will be several times around everybody in Alberta to be able to pop into a location, get done. And remember, there is no such thing as online petition signing.
Correct.
And this has already happened where people were offering, you pay X dollars, you can do it online. That is a scam. There is no such thing. It has to be in person, has to be a proper ID. And it has to be with a Stay Free Alberta petitioner. And I'll show you some of that detail right now with the badges.
Yep. No, it's really, we need to be adamant about this. It's got to be done officially. So there's no, oh, come on. It's really hard for us in the rural. I only have a PO box. You've got to make it happen. You've got to make it happen. If you know what the criteria is, they can't bend to you. We've got to ensure that we're doing it right because it's going to be scrutinized. And we can't have any canvassers signatures be questioned because that means all of their signatures that they've collected is going to be questioned. So they've got to do it right for every single person.
And to be clear, we've already had Elections Alberta identify themselves at locations after they attempted to sign improperly and they were denied. So they've been pushy and like, oh, please just let me. I'm just a little old lady that can't get this done. Help me out. And we have to deny, and we will properly deny. And then they identify themselves after as Elections Alberta agents. And here's the rule: if a badge holder takes even one improper signature, all the signatures that badge holder took are picked out. So absolutely nobody's going to be empathetic. Bring your ID. And if you have a PO box number on your driver's license, you just need a utility bill. Bring your tax bill. That's probably the best one. And it needs to be your physical address, so your blue or green sign number, the 911 civic number, or your legal land description also works. So your tax bill is probably the best. Bring a utility bill, a bank statement, something that has your name that matches your ID, and your physical address, not your mailing address. But most people were prepared for that, and went really smooth. We only had to turn away, well, not weeks. I haven't done any signatures yet.
Yeah.
But I've seen a few people being turned away because they didn't have proper ID. But the good news is I've seen them come back either the same day or they went to the very next event. Like if you were in Drayton and you got turned away, you went to the Buck Creek one with the right ID. I saw that happen. And I haven't even collected a single signature yet. I've been running the events and at the events. But on that note, I do have my badge. It came in on Friday.
Woo!
So this is what it looks like minus my number. So underneath this is the number. I'm not publishing my number because the last thing I want is somebody to make a copy or pretend that they're me to invalidate any of my signatures. But my canvasser badge came Friday. So at some point in the very near future, I will be actually sitting at a table, not as Jason from the Levine Show, but Jason as a volunteer and a canvasser.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the Breton, Devon, some locations around here where I'll be invited to go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I look forward to it too.
So if you're wondering where my cup came from, I'll go to you again. Thank you, Chris. I hung out at the Whistle Stop with Bruce and Nadine. We saw Chris there. Had some pizza. Got him to fire up the oven early. Sorry, Chris. I know that that's a rule, but I really like your pizza. Thanks a lot for that. And Chris is a great host at Whistle Stop Cafe. So if you're in the area of Mere, go ahead and do that. That's what we did. And good food there. I like Chris. Nothing from you?
No, sorry. I wasn't there though, but yes, you and there's Bruce Pardy and Nadine Wood while you were on the Bruce tour.
Well, we didn't call it.
I know he was very adamant. He didn't want
tour.
Yeah, he didn't want it to be the Bruce tour.
No, it was an Alberta Independence talk or something like that. But no, it was with Nadine and Bruce, and he's a very modest, very great guy. He's on today, so you'll be able to hear more from him about his experiences. This is in Drayton Valley on Friday. They tried to cancel us. Go ahead and tell that story. Not they. I mean, like the lefties.
Yes. So, for example, shout out to the Mackenzie Centre in Drayton Valley. It's a great venue. Anyway, so we had called, we booked it, we met with their rep, signed everything, and they gave them a heads up. Says, look, you are going to, not you may, you are going to get phone calls. And so the day before the event, I get a call as well. Thanks for the heads up, because correct, we did get phone calls, but don't worry, we're not backing out on you. Just wanted to give you a heads up, and that we'd like to get the RCMP detachment there. Just have a vehicle parked. I said, yep, no problem, whatever makes you feel comfortable. At the end of the day, we feel that they're more keyboard and phone warriors from the footage that we've seen online when there have been lineups. It's been pretty peaceful. I haven't even seen any protests or anything from the other side. But yep, sure. Nevertheless, if you want them there, that's no problem. There's my contact number. And it went pretty smoothly. Yeah, pretty smoothly.
We had one guy that was disruptive, but he wasn't from the other side. He was just belligerent, very upset that this wasn't an APP event. And because it wasn't. It's not an APP event. Yeah. APP does town halls all over the place. We highly support that group. Mitch will be on Thursday. Sylvester will be on the show Thursday to talk about things. So we're very, very aligned with what APP is doing, but we're not the APP. And this gentleman was really upset about that. Like, you should not be doing any events if they're not APP events. I'm like, well, welcome to a free nation, my friend. We're all welcome to do our own events, and we're providing information. Kind of calmed down after I asked him to leave, and then we kind of worked things out. because he's coming for information. But other than that, there was zero hiccups at any of the events.
Yeah, well,
From
and
Red Deer all the way up.
yep, yeah, no issues certainly that we were aware of, but I just found it very, very interesting. But so again, thank you to the Mackenzie Center who gave us a booking, stood firm, and gave us a great location.
Now, we did have 2 venues cancel on us. The first one was on January 12th. That was the Canadian Brew House.
Yes.
And that one was interesting because first they claimed that we never had a booking there until we provided the receipts to their head
Pants
office.
on fire.
Yep, yeah. So thanks very much to Derek Smith of what's his show name again? Something French.
Unacceptable Fringe?
I believe so, yeah. Thanks very much to Derek Smith, who contacted the head office to get some quotes
Receipts,
from them.
yeah.
No, the receipts came from our side. But then when he contacted them, they're like, no, we don't have a booking. Well, then he goes, oh, we got the receipts. We got the confirmation from your staff at that location. We did. Because we had the confirmation, everything's great, 50 people, we're good to go. And then just one line text out of them saying the event is canceled. Like, huh. We shared that with them, and then they came out with a release, little press release saying, okay, they did have a booking. We did cancel. We don't do political events. Then we highlighted how a few days later they
Pants on fire.
They had a referendum fundraiser at a Canadian Brew House location in Spruce Grove. Not the same location we were at. We were in Edmonton North, but the same organization because they put it out as an organization, that statement. And so what did they do? Instead of just making everything right, they canceled that event too. I didn't support that idea. I thought it would have been better to go ahead and let everybody put on an event and be neutral, because that's how towns and other places have been doing it. You're welcome to rent from us too, is the response most of our venues have been given. But we did have to quickly change. We went to Spruce Grove. We did a pop-up at Swamp Donkey, which is a gun store firing range. They did not receive the same type of pushback. In fact, the only pushback I saw was a post on Facebook saying we should boycott Swamp Donkey, like they buy guns.
Yeah.
Like this group buy guns and go to shooting range. It's like, okay, I don't think they're too worried about that. You're not the group that buys firearms.
Yes.
So anyways, it was a great event, January 12th in Spruce Grove. Hundreds of signatures were collected and dozens and dozens of people filled up that back area.
Yeah.
We were literally in the shooting range. We were on the one end giving the speeches while everybody's looking at us. So yeah, we were at the hot seat for sure.
So yeah, thanks for Swamp Donkeys for making that accommodation and being a supporter.
And I believe they're planning to be a permanent signing location. So stay tuned to stayfreealberta.com for information on that. But there's another event coming up in Spruce Grove on the 22nd that I'll be at, speaking with Dennis Modry. So stay tuned for all of that. There's events everywhere.
Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you to Max, who recorded and streamed the Buck Creek event. We've already got almost 6,000 views on it on YouTube alone. We're close to 10,000 on all platforms. You guys really enjoyed this talk. I do have a fixed version because some of the streaming wasn't so great because of the internet connection, but I do have a version I'll release shortly that's clean and good to go. Great audio. But to those that have been watching this, they've been very, very happy. Good output from that and good feedback from that.
Yep.
And this is basically the same speech that we had from the 12th and on, but the QA was very, very lively here, and some good questions were asked and excellent answers were provided. So if you haven't seen that yet, check it out, or stay tuned for my release of the cleaned up version where the audio and video are better.
So while you were doing the Alberta Independence talk, what did you find were the questions that always came up, like the key ones that people's that repeated, or do you just find a nice variety over the course of all the different venues you went to?
Both. So there's a handful that comes up every time, like currency, crown land, treaties, constitution, and then specific ones come up all the time, or different ones come up all the time. A couple of them would be, can the government stop it? Does Canada have a vote? The answer is no. They do not. And that would be the 750 rule. That was clarified in Buck Creek as well. Another one would be, are we joining the states? The answer is no. Not this. This is not that petition. This petition is to separate from Canada. I don't think there's enough support for joining the U.S., and the U.S. through the State Department has very clear.
Yeah.
They want an Alberta that's independent and not to join the state. I think they're focused on Greenland. But yeah, there's been a mix. So the regular questions come up often, and then there's individual ones.
Mhm.
And there's Bruce. He's missing early. We'll get to him in a bit. There's lots of clips coming out of the Critical Compass about our Red Deer event. That went really, really well. Not a single hiccup there. The speakers were great.
Yeah.
The venue was great. And we are going to be doing another Red Deer event. That's going to be April 11th we're working on. So 411,
Yeah.
April 11th. That's going to be about political action. These will be people who've taken political action. We've already confirmed Dallas Brody, Mitch Sylvester, Frances Woodward. I can't get her last name right.
Don't look at me.
Yeah,
No.
well,
It's not my event.
she's the one that's been exposing and Bruce knows her name. Get to that in a sec. Exposing her views on the residential school stuff. So she'll be there. Brad Williams from the Saskatchewan Prosperity Project will be there. So all the speakers of that event are going to be action takers, people that have done some action politically, and we'll talk and hear from them. That's coming together, so stay tuned on that one. April 11th, Red Deer, and we have Legacy Place penciled in for that one.
Yeah. So
we'll have lots of room for lots of people.
Everything TBD.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're working hard for you. Okay, then here's the Buck Creek event. So 2,500 views on X alone. We're at 5,500 on YouTube, and other platforms have lots members as well. It was standing room only. We filled all the chairs. There's also a local market there as well. You pick up some stuff, and people were able to sign. Pretty cool. So there's 107 people in Buck Creek. That's a hamlet just west of us, and just under 300 signatures collected. That's awesome.
Yeah. And for those who can't understand how that math works, means people went to that location from the surrounding areas. Because I saw some comments online, like, it really, how does that, like, that seems suspicious. No, we have vehicles, we drive, we can go. When we hear that there's a location nearby and we want to sign, people will come to it.
Yeah, there's just silly people out there. Even one person said that I'm an American citizen. No, I'm not. You got the wrong guy. Sorry. I'm like, no, born in Manitoba. Thanks a lot.
Oh, goodness gracious.
They'll just say whatever. Because I was on a Drayton post. They're like, that Jason's not even Canadian. He's an American citizen. No.
Oh, the rubbish that they come out
I'm
with.
not dual. I'm not nothing. I'm a Canadian. Soon to be Albertan citizen.
Give your head a shake.
Great job in Edmonton. Okay. So great job in Edmonton. So Calgary, Edmonton, Red Deer, they're all showing up. It was long lines to get things done. The rough numbers that I've heard out of Edmonton is close to 5,000. There is no official numbers being released because they can't. They can't tell you that. Elections Alberta does not allow that. They don't allow the tallies to be released. Same thing happened with Forever Canada. They didn't provide tallies throughout, and neither can Save Free Alberta. But on May 2nd, when the petitions are being handed off to Elections Alberta, that's when the count and tally will be provided. But it's going to be huge. If you just go by these lineups, you didn't see these lineups with Forever Canada.
Yeah.
And this is we're getting into week 3 now of the petition period of 16. So stay tuned. This is getting large, and a very large event in Calgary on January 26th.
Yes,
the
Monday.
Center. I'll be there. A whole bunch of people will be there. I think a whole 6,000 people. I'm sure Stay Free Alberta is there. It's a signing event.
Yes.
So come check that out in Calgary on the 26th.
Yeah, the plan is that it starts at 7 until it's done.
Great. 7 a.m.?
There's 7 p.m.
Oh, they should open that earlier. We'll see what happens. Thanks to Derek Smith. Unacceptable fringe. There we go. We got it. Buck Creek, you made the news. So CTV has to start reporting on this stuff. It's kind of hard to hide it. They're lying because they're saying only 500 people showed up in Edmonton. If you see the drone footage, that's what they said.
What the?
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah, 500 people had a chance. We had 300 in Buck Creek, and we did not have the lines. We had a couple thousand in Drayton Valley. It didn't look like Edmonton.
Pants on fire.
But at least, look, they mentioned Buck Creek. There we go, little Buck Creek.
Whoop,
Well, good job, Buck Creek. You're on the map now. That little hamlet has made the news.
Yeah.
But yeah, they absolutely, I think they drop a 0 when they do these things. It's kind of annoying, but hey, at least they have to pick up the subject now. You can't hide it anymore. ETV there. Are we on?
Yeah.
All right, Nenshi, keep it up. Every time you post about Canada being a great country and separatism is a real threat, it's time for Canada politicians to speak up and do something. He's admitting that Canada has had a bad relationship with Alberta.
Thank you for the work that you do, sir.
Yeah, because if you actually listen to what he's saying, yeah, things are bad and maybe they should be fixed. Well, that's correct. But separatism isn't a threat to Alberta. It's a threat to the establishment that created this. So, Nenshi, thank you so much. You're an unpaid spokesperson. You're one of the best one. I wrote here, you're one of the best spokespersons for the Alberta independence movement. Each time you speak, more wake up to your nonsense and joins the fight to leave Canada. Keep posting, please. He's doing a good job there. Here's a shocker. We've been saying this on our show for months now, ever since the first recall petition was put in and approved, that these were going to fail. Well, the first one's failed, and this was against the Minister of Education, which would have been the one that had the most teeth possible, because this petition run from Operation Total Recall was about Bill 2, which was a notwithstanding clause that was used to put the teachers back in the classroom. And it failed miserably. An article came out a couple weeks ago from them where they said they had 6,000 signatures and they needed 16,000. So they're 10,000 short, and now it failed. Every single recall petition, all 22 of them, one by one, are going to fail as well. So it's a shocker. But I'm actually asking Elections Alberta, they should investigate the people and money behind Operation Total Recall, as there was a large coordinated effort to waste tax dollars on frivolous recalls. I do hope this ends in some recall reform, so that there at least has to be a valid reason. You don't have to judge the reason. You don't have to say, yes, it is a fact, but it has to be more than just, we don't like a law that was passed legally, legislate. When the legislature does their job properly, legally, the way it's supposed to be, that should not be one of the reasons why they try and recall. But we're going to have 22 recalls fail, and we'll see what ends up happening, because this cost taxpayers millions. It was like 3-point-something million Elections Alberta requested and received the taxpayers to address these recalls.
Exactly.
So I hope that there's some sort of investigation, because if David Parker could be charged for, I think it was like third-party advertising for the election, and he can end up in criminal court for that matter,
What about
then why can't this be looked at a little bit closer to see what's going on here?
I agree.
Yep. So here's some drone footage of Edmonton from Rise of Alberta. Rise of Alberta
Of just the 500 people who
just 500. Yeah, just 500. There's 2 massive lines that the drone shows. But Rise of Alberta has been crushing it. Okay, crushing it. They almost doubled overnight in followers. We've been following them for a long time. Good friend. Keep it up. They provide good information, infographics, been on the ball all along. If you're not following Rise of Alberta, you should. This is a good place to get information about signing locations, advantages of separation, facts and truth, as they're dispelling the rumors out there, misinformation out there. It's been fantastic to watch Rise of Alberta rise. Here's another quick one. So CBC has been busted hard for lying. So Mark Carney was in China, where he said we're going to be part of the New World Order. And CBC cut that part out and tried to tell people he said a new era. He fully said New World Order. In fact, I think somebody posted the clip on my post here. Let's take a quick look at it. Yeah, here it is. You tell me if this says New Era or New World Order. I think it's pretty clear when you hear it yourself. All right.
The progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the New World Order.
And I love Scott Moe's face right there as he turns, and then watch this. It's
a partnership with new focus and greater depth,
uncomfortable.
a sense of purpose.
Like, no, he shouldn't have said
and
that.
I look forward to realizing its promise and building on it in the years to come.
That face says it all as well. He said New World Order.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But CBC has now clipped that out and is trying to change that.
Should be careful. The last time someone did that with Trump, the BBC, they got sued.
Well, somebody should sue CBC, but it won't be carnage.
It won't be because it's
Yeah,
like
it'd
it's
have to be in
to his
public.
benefit, not
But expect
detriment.
nothing less. The CBC knows they cannot bite the hand that feeds them, and they're just doing it.
Yeah.
Again, congratulations to Rise of Alberta for doing a good job. Critical Compass, you're awesome. And if you want to read my statement about Jeffrey Rath's concerns last week, it's my pinned post right now. We have been working great with State Free Alberta, inviting them to the events and doing everything proper. So I'm very pleased that those are coming together great. And without further ado, let's bring Bruce on because I'm croaky. Bruce, how are you
Good
today?
morning. Long time no see.
I'm a little croaky myself. Good to see you. How are you?
Is it from
Good.
good to see you? Is it from talking too much, or did you catch something?
Oh no, I think it's just talking too much.
Yeah, on Saturday your voice was starting to get a bit croaky.
It
so
was
I'm
starting.
not-
It
I'm
was
not
starting to
surprised.
go. You know, it's still fine, more or less, but it was starting to show some cracks. Yes.
Good. We didn't break you, but we kind of got close.
I'm bent, but not broken just yet.
Excellent.
Good
Well,
stuff.
Bruce, it's been an honor to hang out with you so much the last week and a bit, and to be working with you on this.
It was a real pleasure. I had a great time. Thank you for including me.
Yeah, we couldn't have done it without you because you bring a nice perspective to this, which is the cold water Bruce, as we like to refer to it. Excuse me, to let everybody know what's up and what could be coming, and just kind of be frank about things. Like, if you're going to do this, do it clean. Like, do it all over again. Don't copy and paste and replace current ones. Start all clean. Let's first start with your appearance in Red Deer, because that was a very different speech. That was about fundamental truth. That was very different than the tour one that you did.
Yes, that was a unique event that you guys put on there, Jason and Paula. It was not an independence event per se, and there was lots of interesting stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I as you say, I gave a talk about an inconvenient fundamental truth, and had a great time.
Well, that's a shocker on that one was the Q&A at the end when Leighton Gray, Mia Hughes, you, and Sean Buckley started talking about where's the line to protect children, when the state should get in or not get in, and all this kind of stuff. So that was kind of one of the big takeaways, and that was unplanned. It was just a question that came up.
Sure.
But what was your thought about that, the Q&A panel and interacting with the other speakers?
Well, it was a terrific moment to crystallize the problem, right? So it's easy to lose track of when you're sure about something. And for example, Mia was talking about gender transition surgery, so on, for children. And all of us in the room, I think, agreed, certainly all of us on the stage agreed that it was an appalling thing to happen. But when you take that thing that you are sure about and you say, well, therefore the state should not allow it, that's a problem, because if you're articulating that as your principle, then that principle applies to other things that you don't feel the same about. So, for example, if you say that the state should prevent parents from doing what the state does not approve of, well, now we're in danger of allowing the state to make parents to get children vaccinated, or to make Jehovah's Witness children get blood transfusions, or the like. In other words, once you give the state the power to make the call, then you're stuck with that position, and you can't go back and forth. It doesn't work. So the point that arose on the stage, which was very interesting, was, all right, so who does get the last word on the child's care, and under what circumstances? And once you start to abstract the problem that way, you can start to see what the problem in theory, in principle, is, and that problem needs to be resolved.
It is a tough one. And Sean brought up some good points about once you open that door, you saw what happened during COVID when the government was involved. Like, it's not so much about you didn't agree with helping, it's just who should be doing the helping and the decision making. Because when you open that door, there is no trusting the government. They're all over everything anyway. So don't open that door, was kind of his point as well.
Often the most important legal question is not what should the rules be, but who gets to make the call. And once you decide that, then you are stuck with it, and whoever that is gets to make the call. So if you want the state to step in certain circumstances, The danger is that you've now given the state authority and legitimacy to step in when you don't want it to step in. And that was the COVID lesson. We gave the state more authority than we thought, and they stepped in and they used it. And we must not forget what happened there, because once you're on that track, it's very hard to reverse and say, oh, no, we didn't mean that. We didn't mean to exercise those powers. Once they have the powers, they have the powers. So don't go there.
Absolutely. And we're going to do a follow-up show. So you, Mia, Bruce, and Leighton, we're going to find a time that works for you all. We'll deep dive into this one even further, because it's a tough issue. Like what you brought up was difficult. Like if the parents and the child agree, who should step in the way, if anybody? And then Mia's concern was, well, they've gone way overboard, and they're even convincing parents, and there's an issue with even the parents on some of this. So, and nobody wants to take away parental rights. Like this is so difficult.
Right. So the comparison that came up on the stage, and the one that I used to contrast with the transgender thing, was if you have a Jehovah's Witness, let's say you have a Jehovah's Witness teenager, let's say 14, who's involved in a car accident and is in the hospital and needs a blood transfusion and is conscious, but says, I don't want one because that's not my religious belief. And the father agrees and the mother agrees. Are we really saying that the state should require the girl to get a blood transfusion? I don't think so. But
yeah, and that's
right. But so and that's a matter of life and death. And so you switch over to the gender transition thing, and I think that kind of thing is appalling. I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody. But if you get a 14-year-old child who says, I want this to happen, and the father says yes, and the mother says yes, all right, so now we're in a difficult spot, because if we say no, you cannot do that, we don't care what you want, you're making the wrong decision. Well, if we authorize the state to step in there and say, you cannot do this, even though you all agree that you want it to happen, then what happens in the Jehovah's Witness situation? You don't want the state to step in there. So we have to reconcile our conflicting impulses.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one because, well, for one, the Jehovah's Witness one, that's life and death. You're choosing death. But let's say 15-year-old girl and two parents decide suicide, and it's not even medical needed, and it's just they all agree. Right now the state will say no to that. What about like a 12-year-old girl, two parents agree, be married off? The state doesn't allow that right now. So there are some boundaries, and I don't want to get too deep in this one because I think I want to save a lot of this for this episode, but there is some place where the state does step in.
Oh, there's a role for the state. I mean, we don't want to live in anarchy. I mean, anarchy has a lot of attractions to it. The anarcho-capitalists, make a case for anarchy. I think anarchy is probably just a little bit. What you get in anarchy is a power vacuum, and what happens is the people with power, the people with the most guns or the most thugs behind them, are tempted to step in and fill the vacuum, and I don't think that's a good idea. So there is a role for the state, but the question is, how do you put a fence around it?
Yeah, and I think on this particular issue, like when you're dealing with the innocence of children, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about removing legs or body parts that are healthy? Because that was one of the pushbacks. Like, would you want the state to step in for an amputation that's completely unnecessary? It's just agreed upon.
Right. And these problems are most acute when it comes to children. But what I find is that a lot of people have difficulty even when it concerns an adult. And I prefer to address that question first, because sometimes people will hide behind the issue with children in order to hide their disagreement about adults. So let's start with adults. If you consider about all these things with adults, gender transition, amputation, suicide, and so on, the first question for me is, forget the children. We'll get to the children later. What about an adult? Is an adult allowed to do a thing that the rest of us disapprove of? And if you are living in a free society, even though it disgusts you, I think the answer has to be yes.
And that's where my mind's at. Other than force and coercion of others, which is something you talk a lot about, you can do whatever you want. You want to jump out of an airplane without a parachute? Flat. Like, you can do whatever you want as an adult.
Right.
I think the biggest issue is going to be once we put the adult issue aside. I think a lot of people can agree. Adults get to make that decision. There's a magic number. There's a magic moment in your life where you become an adult, and then it's on
Right.
you.
Right.
It's before then. I think that's going to be the bigger conversation after.
Well, perhaps for a lot of people that's true, but for a lot of other people that is not true. So, for example, one of my favorite issues that brings this up is prostitution. Prostitution, assuming that there is no coercion involved, like it's all consensual. So there's no violence, no force. If you have consensual prostitution, that is two people agree that there's going to be a transaction here, money for sex. There are a lot of people who say, no, sorry, can't do that. And my reaction is, well, hold on. I might not approve of it, but this is consensual. Those two people are acting voluntarily. They're adults. They're fully consensual. On what basis are we saying that they're not allowed?
I think the trouble comes when people try to conflate morality with freedom.
And legality too.
Well,
There's some
that's what
places
we're
where-
getting at, is
yeah.
the legality portion. But when they try and conflate morality, I don't think that's right. With freedom, I don't think that's right for you. That's where they start to kind of get messed up, and then that turns into laws.
Well, that's exactly so, and now you're getting to the theme of the talk that I gave at the Fundamental Truths event. That's essentially the case, right? So, fundamental truths. So here's the problem: people believe in their heart of hearts that they know the truth. They know what's right, and that's all very well. I mean, it's good to have conviction, but they can start to insist that their truth be embedded in the law. And once that happens, now they're becoming the tyrant because they're insisting that their beliefs be enforced upon other people who may not themselves agree. And that means that truth and freedom are in conflict. And if you want to live in a free society, you cannot embed certain people's truths in the law.
Correct, and you even touched on that in the tour stuff as well, because you have this one thing you talk about where the one thing that's easy for people to do and the one thing that's not so easy for people to do. That kind of relates to this.
That's right. That's right. It's if you want to live in a free society, you essentially want two things, and the first one is easy, and the second one is hard. The first one is you don't want to be told what to do. I mean, that's easy to want, but the second one is you do not want to tell other people what to do, and that's very hard for some people. Of course, the world is full of people who want to tell their fellows what to do. So it's a real reality check for people who profess to want to live in a free society. But that will mean that you have to stop trying to interfere with other people's choices, even choices that you think are bad.
Yeah, there's an interesting line in society, and then this gets a lot more complicated when you're talking about children, because parents tell the kids what to do.
Of course,
They're not. Okay, I can tell you that. They're not free to walk into the highway. They're not free to go wherever they want. They're not free to eat whatever they want. They live under a dictatorship for sure. Of their parents.
Right.
And then they become free when they hit a certain moment in their life.
Right. And to some extent, that moment is arbitrary. We have to pick a moment, right? But for the purpose of the law, you don't want to sort of pick and choose a different moment for every child, because now you're subject to the discretion of the state authorities to decide when, this particular person gets to be free. That's not a good idea. But yes, so children are not at liberty to do the things that their parents will not let them do. And this is where the tension is. At what point do we flip from saying parents are the ones that control and look after and make decisions for the child, and on the one hand, and on the other hand, when you get into an extreme situation, at what point does the state say, well, listen, we're not going to allow you to do that? And that's the moment of the trouble.
Yeah, and then historically, for most Western civilizations, it's between 16 and 19. Jurisdictionally, it changes all over the place. Usually it's like alcohol or something like that, or marriage or relationships and stuff like that kick in. We won't jump down that one too much, because I think we're eating up a lot of the good conversation. And I do have two more topics I want to talk to you about.
Okay,
The next
great.
one is the tour that you were just on. We
Yes.
started in, well, we were supposed to start in North Edmonton on
Mhm.
January 12th at the Canadian Brew House. We ended up in Spruce Grove that night. You were at the other end of a firing range, and you were taking the questions too.
That's
It
right.
was quite the setup to start that little tour. What were your thoughts?
Firing questions at us. That's right. Yes.
Yep, they were firing questions. What was your thoughts of as we were kicking off that little 1 week tour?
Well, that in some ways that was the most interesting event because it was such short notice and sort of thrown together. You guys did a great job at recovering from these cancellations. But I noticed there, and in fact everywhere that we went, there was I got a feeling of urgency from the people. Like, it's not that they were all already convinced, but those who were convinced understood, and this is part of the message that we were trying to deliver, understood that this is the time and there's probably not going to be a second chance. And so if you're going to do this, you have to do it now. And a lot of people, I thought, understood that. A lot of other people, of course, had a lot of questions, and nothing wrong with that. But some of the questions seemed to be of the kind that, but the sentiment seemed to be, look, I'm open to this, but I really want to know exactly what's going to happen. Like, you have to tell us, how is this going to unfold? What are we going to keep? What are we going to lose? Like, tell us what the plan is and how this is going to unfold. And the answer to that is, look, nobody knows that. And if they do pretend to know that, they're pulling a fast one, because a lot of things are going to be up for negotiation, which means they are uncertain. So what you're heading into is an uncertain thing, but that's the point. You're trying to enter into a situation where Alberta can change things, because the situation that it's in is not a good one. So you should embrace the uncertainty, because you are engaging in an adventure, a political revolution. And so get comfortable with a little bit of uncertainty, and don't expect the people who are leading the movement to be able to tell you exactly how it's going to unfold.
Yeah, it did. That came up quite a few times. It's kind of like they wanted the IKEA instructions ahead of time, and they want to
Right.
know how it's going to come together, but the tree's not cut down yet. Okay, like,
Mhm.
you're not quite at
Right.
that stage yet. You kind of have a
Well-
general idea, but there's no actual instruction.
Well, the general idea, we have, like, a couple of steps laid out by the Supreme Court in 1998, and we have the Clarity Act, so we know exactly sort of what the parameters are going to be, at least to a certain point. But the comparison that I responded with a couple of times is, well, just imagine that some of the residents of the 13 colonies in what became the U.S. said to the leaders of the revolution, look, we might support your revolution, but we want to know exactly what this new country is going to be. Like, what's going to happen? What's going to become of it? And of course, nobody knew that either. And America became a terrific country, a country of liberty. But that was all unknown at the time that the rumblings of the revolution began. So part of this is you have to take a leap and embrace the idea that you are engaging in an important endeavor, adventure for the potential of having a free country.
And another way to look at it is we're birthing a nation here. You don't know
Yeah.
when you're having a child. Is it going to be an engineer, or is it going to be an educator? Or sometimes we don't
Right.
even know if it's a boy or girl. You just run with it, and then you just deal with what you have in front of you, and it's an excellent and exciting opportunity too.
Sure.
Some people look at this as a divorce. You don't know who's getting the house, who's in what relationship next. Sometimes they know what relationships next that could have caused a divorce, but you don't really know. There's a lot of uncertainty there, and your recommendation there is to be excited about it, and it's a political revolution, not a violent one, but a political, peaceful revolution.
A political revolution. I think divorce is probably a good metaphor in some ways, right? Because the relationship is breaking down, and you've gone back to try and fix it a number of times, and it hasn't worked. And so you really have no other choice now but to enter into this zone of mystery. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of people who support independence do not all exactly agree about what it should look like after that happens, right? And it's important to talk about what those differing views are, and there are going to be differing views, inevitably. That's not a bad thing. It's inevitable and should be expected. So none of that to me is a reason to shy away from it.
Yeah, and there was a few people who said after hearing you guys talk, you and Nadine, they went ahead and signed,
Right.
went to the Stay Free Alberta side of things and signed. And people who are signing, they should understand or considering signing, whether you're for or against, what you're really signing is the democratic process to have this question brought forward, where you'll have your yes, no option as well. So you don't have to be committed to voting yes in order to stand in that line and sign that petition. But if you're
Correct.
committed to a democratic process and getting this question on the table, there's a Forever Canada people, 450,000 people wanted that question brought forward. It's not being brought forward that way.
Yeah.
So you can also use this one to get it brought forward definitively now. There's no way the petitioner on this one's going to say, nah, we don't
We
want the
changed
referendum.
our mind.
Yeah, no, this one's pretty sad. The IKEA paper, we got the first couple pages on this one now. You know, the first couple steps, and that is to get in line, sign that petition, and get involved. And there was nobody upset in the lines. We saw some long lines in Red Deer. They went around the venue into the parking lot and turned the corner. Nobody was upset. They're all very excited to stand in line. And that's kind of what you talked about. The excitement and we got to get this going is high right now all over the place.
Yeah, listen, the people at these venues were terrific. They were really, really good, and there's a lot of enthusiasm, and as I say, urgency, and that was very good to see. A lot of patience in the lineups, just a determination on the part of a lot of people that I saw, and it was terrific.
Yeah, when I would walk the line waiting for my event to start, a lot of people, I said, hey, sorry about the wait. Like, I waited 40 years for that. So no problem. I'll wait 40 minutes. Not a problem. And there was all ages there. We even
Yeah.
saw bassinets and strollers and all ages there.
All ages, all
People making their way
demographics,
through those
people,
lines.
yeah. It was quite an eclectic mix, and people want to speak. Albertans want to have their say.
Yeah. So it's an exciting time to be out here. And you got to join us for a little bit. And by the way, the weather left with you. It started to cool off as soon as you left. So
Well, you see, I now have the impression that winter in Alberta is just a prolonged spring.
It was fantastic weather. It
Yeah.
was fantastic, but we've got the cold weather is coming next week. Is going to be winter in Alberta. For sure.
All right. Well, I'm very sorry to miss that.
no worries. Now you have been poking around, maybe coming out here a little bit more longer term. Is that still something you're looking at? You got to
Oh,
see
I'm poking
what-
around. I have no like concrete plan at the moment, but I have been poking around a little bit. So sure, it's on the table.
Excellent. Everything's on the table, and then we'll clear the table and start all over. Right.
That's right. That's right.
The next thing that we did is we went on to Didsbury. We went to Fleet. Fleet was a lot of fun. In the middle of nowhere, a population of like 15 or something like that filled that little community hall. We had to add chairs because there were a lot of people that showed up there. Fleet was a lot of fun too.
Oh yes, listen, I enjoyed them all. Fleet was terrific. It was a great atmosphere. I was a terrific room. The people were great. I enjoyed the brownies. Didsbury was good as well. It was a much different kind of room. It was a larger room inside an arena, so the acoustics were a bit of a challenge. But in every single place that we went, the people wanted to know, you know, what is this? What is going on? How's it going to play out? And so we all did our best to try and satisfy their inquisitions.
All right. And Didsbury just released, a town of Didsbury, a notice. No signing events at any of their stuff. They got all the information wrong. They're calling it an APP separatist petition, a Western separatist petition. Like in their notice, all the information's wrong, but they made it clear that at none of their venues are they going to allow petition signing, which is odd because this is an Elections Alberta sanctioned petition. This is a legal process. It's Referendum Act, the Clarity Act, not the Clarity Act, the Citizens Initiative Act are being followed. It's odd to see an entire town now say we are not facilitating any signing.
So now the powers that be are speaking for their people to say, you're not going to be signing here.
Yeah, none of their facilities. But that's not the same everywhere. Other areas and towns and stuff like that are not having that issue. They're allowing democracy to happen. Are
Well,
you
sorry, go
surprised to
ahead.
hear that?
Well, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because it sounds like they are pretty confident that that won't blow back on them the next time a local election comes around. I mean, if the people
Right.
if the people in a town, if those people consist of a constituency that wants to support independence and their local officials say, sorry, you can't express that opinion, I would like to think that that might have consequences in the following local elections, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, there were
Yeah.
some pretty quick consequences for Canadian Brewhouse. A lot of people say, I'm not going back there again. They kind of had their Bud Light moment a little bit there. But now the last subject I want to jump on to with you, because this was recent on Friday, was the Federal Appeals Court decision that upheld the lower court's decision, the Mosley decision,
Yes.
about the illegal use of the Emergencies Act in Ottawa by the previous Trudeau government. What are your initial thoughts? First, for those that were expecting Blair Ector to come on, talk to him this morning. He's dealing with a hockey tournament with his son. Going to come on, and we're going to do a full show, not just a morning half-hour thing, to dive into this, because he's very pleased with how that went. But what are your thoughts, Cold Water Bruce, on that issue?
Well, it's great to see. It's great to see because it's a very ordinary decision. It's what you would hope to see and expect to see if the court was simply doing its job. And so in that respect, it's great, because it is not a court sort of coloring outside the lines or doing something unexpected or, making a policy decision. It was pretty straight up statutory interpretation. They don't stretch any lines. They don't go wandering. So it's not an extraordinary decision. It is an ordinary decision, and that's what makes it good. When you have a cause, sometimes you're inclined to want the court to reach to support your cause, but that is not the case here. All we want the court to do is to do its job in the normal way, and this court did that, and so that's a good result. Of course, this is not necessarily the end of the line. I haven't heard an announcement yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if the government appealed this decision to the Supreme Court. And what happens in that court is another unknown. So we'll see. But this is a good step, good solid step along the way.
Yeah, they're in a position where they got nothing to lose. They got unlimited money. So why not throw it to the Supreme Court? Because what would a Supreme Court decision upholding this even mean? You're not going to see Justin Trudeau in handcuffs. I don't see that in the future.
No. This is a judicial review. Nobody's on trial. It's not going to result in any prison terms or anything like that. This is not the kind of proceeding this is. This is simply a question about whether the government's invocation of the Emergencies Act was within the bounds of the statute itself. I mean, there is a constitutional angle to this case, but it's not the first one. It's not the primary one. The first one is restricted to the statute itself, as in, here's a piece of legislation. The legislation itself creates thresholds that needs to be met in order for the government to use the legislation. And the question is, were those thresholds met? And the answer from the court, both courts now, has been no. And that seems perfectly obvious to me, certainly. So that's good. That's standard stuff. There's a constitutional aspect, which is, did the two regulations promulgated under the act violate constitutional rights? And the answer was yes. And that's good also. But the first thing is restricted to the statute itself. And so we understand now what the meaning of the terms in the statute mean. Now, on the other hand, because this is statute-based and not first and foremost constitutional, that means that in theory, the statute could be amended to say a different thing, to set out different thresholds, so that in the future the government could be able to use it in similar situations. Now, that, of course, has not happened yet, but it is possible because this decision was based on the interpretation of the statute and not on the application of the Constitution on that question.
Now, this also exposed another hole in our accountability processes with government in general, and that would be the Inquiries Act, because the Inquiries Act was used to make the Public Order Emergency Commission, which found the complete opposite of this. They did say it was justified. And Justice Rouleau there said this is a justified response and all that kind of stuff. Now, the court disagrees with them. I wonder if this could open up some reform around our Inquiries Act. So it's not government-led, government commissioner. Maybe we can get something else out of this, because now we've basically proven the Public Order Emergency Commission itself was just for show. It didn't even have a legal basis to it because the courts disagree with that outcome.
Well, yes, but I mean, inquiries of this type I've always been dubious about them, because they pretend to be something that they're not. They look like a court process, but they never have been. It's an inquiry, and the inquiry does not find liability, and its findings are not binding. You know, the report sits on a shelf somewhere, and a lot of people put far more reliance, expectation, weight on what was going to happen during the inquiry than was called for. So I don't think it's a matter of reforming the inquiry process. I think it's a matter of seeing it for what it is. And I'd be perfectly happy if we didn't have so many. The inquiry thing is a favorite thing in Canada, but it's a way to, if you like, it's a way to avoid real court proceedings that lead to hard and legally enforceable answers. So I don't think we should be led down the garden path and thinking that we can reform the inquiry process. In this particular case, the inquiry is called for by the terms of the act itself, merely to, review the circumstances under which the act was invoked. And the inquiry, did that job, came to a conclusion that I did not agree with, a conclusion that the court did not agree with, but a conclusion that should have been expected. I mean, that's what I said was going to happen from the very beginning in the inquiry process. So it was not a surprise. It was interesting to hear all the evidence, but other than that, it didn't really mean very much.
Well, if that's not another reason to look at getting out of that kind of system, because even accountability, when it comes to the table, it's not true accountability.
Right.
There's nobody who's going to be held. Nobody's losing their job, and nobody's responsible. And a lot of people are echoing what we're talking about here. They're like, "So what?" It's basically a hollow thing.
Well, but this is the thing. So when the inquiry began, people were saying, "Oh, we're going to finally get some accountability." That was not going to happen. And those of us who said this is not going to happen, because people were putting so much hope onto it, that message was not always well received. But that's the reality. The reality was from the very beginning that the commission called for under the Emergencies Act was probably not going to give certainly the kind of accountability that people wanted, or the kind of accountability that we now have in the court.
Under a new Alberta, constitutionally, can there be Senate or Congress or something that has teeth in these kind of situations?
Well, you have to be careful here, though, right? Because you don't want accountability in that sense to be portioned out by a political body all the time, right? So if you give the Senate, so what happens in the states? So they have a different version of this, right? So they tend to have hearings in the Senate, for example. They get witnesses in, and you see the clips of the senators asking the questions. Sometimes it's very entertaining, but it is also not a legal process. It is all political theater, right? And so the actual accountability, if there is going to be any, typically takes place in a courtroom. And people are sometimes misled, thinking, "Oh, here's going to be the answer. Here's going to be the accountability. Here the people are going to get their due." Neither of these kinds of processes, the inquiries or the Senate proceedings, lead to the kind of accountability that I think people are imagining. And so the danger is you set up these processes to look like something that they're really not.
There's a question here in our locals chat. It was, but how do we, Trudeau, how do we get him in cuffs? He shouldn't be allowed to get off scot-free after all that he's done.
Yeah, see, the problem is that our system of governance provides authority. And if you are passing rules and making regulations and giving directives and so on within the scope of your authority, even if the content is wrong, leads to bad consequences, not based on good information, maybe even has ill intent behind it. If you're acting within your authority, then it's very difficult to pursue that in a legal form, and certainly, not likely to lead to criminal charges. So the idea that the prime minister or anybody who was acting in the political arena was going to end up in handcuffs was always a faint hope.
Yeah. Wishful thinking.
Sorry, there's stuff happening here. Can't share right now, but it's pretty exciting. All right, Bruce, can you hang on? We're going to go to the private side here. And look, Cobalt Bruce, you're here to tell us the truth. And now you're 7-0. Okay, I'm counting. I'm keeping track. You keep being right about this stuff. So thank you very much for coming on here and telling us that. I would like to invite you to come back when Blair Ector comes on as well.
Sure.
So we can kind of talk a bit more about, what are the consequences? What does this mean for the next time the government tries to do it? The War Measure Act was violated by Trudeau Sr. Then they rewrote it into the Emergencies Act. Now Trudeau Jr. violated it. Could this lead to another one now, which lays out more parameters and more lines in the sand, or not? Because frankly, I can speak on behalf of all Canadians. What's the point of having it if they just do whatever they want and then nothing comes from it? Like, that's just so disheartening. But I do like the idea that maybe Alberta, if given the opportunity, can rethink some of these harder questions and see how we can address it. Because the last thing we want is force and coercion by our government when we're just speaking up. So, Bruce, hang on for a bit, and we'll chat with our supporters. Okay.
Great. Good.
Awesome.
And as a side note, yeah, that's what has to change in our new country.
Yeah, Bruce-topia. I'm calling it now. Bruce-topia. All right, folks, you hang on. If you're on the local side of things, remember you can join us there. You can go to our website, thelivingfield.com, to get yourself set up there. It is how we keep the show going. So I really appreciate people helping us cover the internet bill and some of the costs to do this for you. And of course, subscribe, like, and do all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Hit that bell. It helps. We're growing quite well on YouTube. So appreciate anybody that's doing that, and share that out, because these conversations are back, and we're going to do our best to try and bring these to you daily, even as we're running around the province, bringing more information to everybody.
Yeah, everyone have a fantastic day. It's great to see you again, and I'll be back tomorrow.
Thank you very much for being here, and God bless.